and welcome to this Sunday live stream. It's 11 o'clock, January 19, 2025. So we're going to talk about guitar and improvisation, as the live stream is named. And thought I'd talk a little bit about Watch What Happens. I released a video yesterday morning on that one, so maybe I'll discuss a little bit of the chord changes and improvisation and all that. So welcome, Jeffrey. Welcome to this live stream. And so I'm going to do a little noodling around while folks join in here. And get my fingers kind of warmed up, and then we'll discuss guitar, jazz guitar, rock guitar, fusion guitar, anything having to do with the guitar and improvising, which can include chords too, of course. Okay. Hello, Eric. Glad you could join us today. And Jason L., thank you. So, I'm noodling around there a little bit on Watch What Happens. Played it in that case in B flat. Started with a little bit of an intro that was based on the B section of the tune. I'm not actually asking for help. I just forgot my other Fret Prince mug. This is a help mug that a student gave me, based on the Beatles. He was a big Beatles fan. And snowy day, but lovely. Absolutely snowy day here in Maryland. I don't know where you folks are at, but if you're here in the U.S. on the East Coast, likely a snowy day for you as well. So it's pretty out there. It's nice when it snows on a Sunday. At least for functional purposes. Don't really have to go anywhere today anyway. Okay, so let me continue talking about just kind of how I approach the form of what I just did, that what I'm playing. So I took that B section and explored that a little bit as a little bit of an intro to, so did that, and then I had a sort of little open free section there, and then I went into the form of the tune, which I'll talk a little bit about, and then at the end we did a little bit of a turnaround, which is a nice turnaround that's fun to do. That goes 5 of the flat 6, and then you do tritone substitution, let's say, on the 5 chord in the B flat, and then back. So Philly, no snow yet. Okay, I'm guessing you'll probably get some. So you're pretty close. I mean, relatively speaking, pretty close to Baltimore. A lot of good jazz up there in Philadelphia. A lot of the greats came out of Philadelphia. And then, why play it in a different key? Well, sometimes it just kind of keeps it interesting, to play in a different key, and it really kind of keeps you thinking functionally about the chords, like what are they doing. And that's one thing I really like suggest to folks, and maybe a lot of folks are already doing that anyway, but to play in different keys, so you're really not looking for just playing it at a certain spot on the neck every time when you play a certain change. You're really thinking about how things work, how things function. Eric Beale, yeah, it is a kind of a Coltrane thing, isn't it? It's interesting, the period of time where it has that sound of like kind of giant steps. But we had Have You Met Miss Jones, which has that sort of bridge, and I believe that even inspired the practice and then the development later on of giant steps. But also, Tad Dameron was doing these kinds of little shifts and things with half steps, and then maybe some similar devices. So there was a period of time when that was kind of a pretty common kind of thing to do, or a pretty kind of like hip thing to do, I think, at some point. But yeah, it absolutely does follow that, because if you look at these center B flat, the G flat is a major third below, right? So yeah, it's really interesting how things evolve, yeah, and all of that. So pretty cool. Let's see, Les Paul Slayer. How You Don't Fall in Your Truss Rod Hole. Yeah, I know. I need to get that covered up. Maybe I'll just bring up my cover. Yeah, I've been kind of thinking about that. Just for looks, it would look better. So we've got another question from Les Paul Slayer. So in jazz, the tonal center changes. Well, yeah, I mean, it can. What you're doing, it's actually kind of playing around. I mean, from my perspective, my understanding, you're kind of yanking somebody out of that tonal center, because your ear wants to hear, once you hear a few notes, and this is really kind of a subconscious thing, I think, but the ear just wants to hear, once it gets used to hearing a few notes in the key of, let's say, B flat for a while, it wants to hear this B flat, and it just assigns that really as a tonal center, and so when you go and you play, like, the ear is all conditioned to hear this through whatever chord changes. Then when you start going, like, when you do something like this, it's kind of striking. So it's just like kind of like pulls you out, and then puts you back in. So the song as a whole, the tonal center is going to still be, in the case of what I'm playing, is B flat. But, for a small moment in time, you have a 5-1 in a kind of distantly related key. So it just kind of like I said, kind of yanks you over, and you feel it, right? Because if you play a 1, 6, 2, 5, everything's just still in our collection of tones. So there are a lot of interesting turnarounds that can just, sound, give you, some different directions. You could take a 1, 6, 2, 5, and change the chord quality. So you can do 1, maybe make it a 5 that's dominant 7, sharp 9, and then make everything else kind of the same. And then you can start altering more. So you say, maybe I want C7 or C13, and then this, and then you start saying, oh well, that's interesting, because you get this same voicing here as you go down. So you get that, and then you start thinking, well, what if I change the root note? And then exploring maybe different combinations. Maybe you could do or so yeah. So the concept of kind of modulating and versus changing key altogether. So you have some more brief moments where you just might visit something. So those turnarounds are places where you can really play around with some things. So let's see, Eric. Also, something cool about the mix of dominant and major 7 harmony, to me, is cool. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the dominant 7th, excuse me. And you can pick different dominant 7ths based on kind of what you like, and if you have a friend to jam with on guitar or bass or something, you could always experiment with doing different options, and then kind of throwing these things out at each other as you jam through stuff. And you can also maybe take iReal Pro and edit a chord, maybe on that kind of the ending part of a form of a tune, and experiment with the different changes, and see how you can improvise over those. So to expand on this question, jazz tonal center, in jazz the tonal center changes. It's all depending on the tune. you know, jazz, your kind of jazz standard kind of tunes. A lot of times you'll visit closely related keys. Let's say you're on Misty. Right, so we go from having D naturals with key of 3 flats to having D flats and keeping those 3 flats. So then you're kind of borrowing there from the key of 4 flats, which makes sense because we're going to an A flat chord. Right. So those are some things to definitely consider, and that's something I've talked about here as an ongoing theme, is just carrying the perspective that your note collections are going to be dynamic on the tunes that you play. So we'll go back to Watch What Happens a little bit, and we'll talk about some of those motions. And welcome your questions. Keeps me talking. So we're having things to talk about. So I'll talk a little bit about that, and I'll take your question real quick. So let's go back to E flat. So that's the key that we're in on this tune. You want to think 1 chord, and then 2 chord, and then you want to compare it to what chords occur in the diatonic kind of system, right? So in the 2 chord is minor in the key of 3 flats. So then you think, oh, they got a root that's diatonic, but it has a chord quality that's a little different, right? So then you can accommodate that A natural, right? And then we do have a 2 chord that's minor, so that's nice and fitting. And then a 5 chord, of course. And you can always spice this up a lot too. You can go out of your E flat diatonic system, to build some tension. All right, we've got some comments and questions, and I'll mention too, I'm watching chats on a couple different platforms, and mostly YouTube, of course, but I've got a vertical version and a horizontal version. So if I'm talking to somebody you don't see, then that is why. Okay. So in chromatic or whole tone scales, is the root the tonal center? So your tonal center is gonna be, and sorry to chuckle, but I'm just trying to kind of figure out how to answer that, because it's a good question, and so I'm going to define, your tonal center, and as I think will benefit you. Your tonal center is, in a sense, your perception of what the tonic is, right? So if you're playing chromatic, your tonal center is really going to be that note that you're hearing everything return to. So if you're in E flat and you're playing, it's going to be a little bit harder to keep track of it probably, but it's still the chromatic. It's still, your tonal center is still E flat. If you're playing chromatic lines on a tune that's in E flat, then your tonal center is still E flat. So, when you're playing, just kind of noodling around down on some chromatic things that I'm just applying to the dominant seventh. Now, whole tone scale, the same kind of thing. If I play whole tone scale, notice on the whole tone scale, if I'm playing the whole tone scale on the dominant seventh, the tonic is not in the scale, really, right? So it's right. So you want to differentiate there between tonal music and this sort of 12-tone system and those kinds of things. So if it's tonal music, you can use the chromatic scale and just keep track of your tonic, and the tonic doesn't have to be in your whole tone scale. So in a sense, like the whole tone scale, it's not really tonal. I mean, you play it and there's nothing to land on unless you have a context, right? So if you have B flat 7 and then you're going to do a whole tone scale on that, then your ear will hear that going. So same kind of thing with chromatic. If you play chromatic out of context, there's nothing to tell you what the tonic is. You have to perceive a tonic. So that's tonal versus not non-tonal music. And then you have modal music. So the tonic is going to be what you assign, to that current pull of tones. But in our system of minor and major, it's going to generally be a key signature, and either you're in minor or major of that key. So let's see. So Eric asks, I think one of the nice explanation metaphor is the downhill skiing versus slalom skiing, where the chord movements you take you to different places. Yeah, nice. I like that too. Dave Frank calls it the chord mapping. My jazz piano teacher, cool. Feel like he is a good resource for that compliments you. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. But yeah, it's hard to make sense of all this music theory and all this kind of thing. So you want to think is it a functional harmony, right? Is it non-functional? Those kinds of things. Like basically functional harmony does it do something in the tonal system, in a sense? Does it work towards something? So if you check out, some especially Wayne Shorter tunes, those are oftentimes good examples of things that are not functional type harmonic passages, but but also Herbie Hancock, but you might find some things that are functional and all that. But there are a lot of really, cool things to explore. I would, Les Paul Slayer, I would, also, if you're like kind of checking out chromatic and whole tone, if you haven't already, start working a bit with the octatonic or the diminished kind of scale. Really should say diminished. There's a lot of really cool things to explore there. As well, and that's another one where it's like you're not really in a tonality, but it can help you move through things, right? So if you've got some progression that goes like this, right, then you're in key of 3 flats, and then you kind of pull into that diminished 7 thing, which is it's outside of your key signatures and stuff. So the and that one's built, it's very, symmetrical, like the whole tone scale, where you have wholes and halves and wholes and halves, all in that sequence. So a lot of those, I would work on applying those to dominant seventh. Inner Urge, yeah, great tune. I used to love to play that tune. I like to play that tune in a more of a like a hip hop kind of vibe. I was working on that kind of backing track. I had a backing track that I was developing for that. And maybe I'll get back to that one. That's a great tune. So like the different ingredients in soap give you soup, sorry, I misread that. Like the different ingredients in a soup gives you its flavors. That's exactly it. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and it's a whole, phenomenon, of how we perceive these sounds that are, organized into music. And there's probably neurological, I mean, most definitely some neurological things going on with how we perceive things, and then there's the history of the music development, and I'm sure those two things have kind of influenced each other over, hundreds of years, who knows, maybe thousands of years. I'm not sure how long it goes back, but at least our harmonics system, you can trace back a few hundred years. So, how does the ear perceive these different sounds to resolve to different places? That's pretty cool. So Les Paul Slayer says, I'm a rock and blues player, trying to fit those into chord changes. Well, blues is great. If you take some of your blues knowledge, and let's say you've been playing rock, in A or something like that, start bumping it up to B flat, right? And then you're in our typical, jazz key, if you're interested in doing that. But we can play in all keys, especially guitarists. We play in A, we play in G. It's great. Those are great for us, but they're not always the horn type keys. So, that's, I think, where the B flats come in. Start playing it in B flat, start doing bar chords, and then start improvising. Instead of doing the A minor pentatonic, just bump it up half step. And then, I mean, it's just totally a great and natural starting point, honestly. Just doing blues, if you're trying to get into all that, because you take your typical blues changes, and then you can really learn a lot about how to play changes just on the blues by just playing a simple mixolydian. And then go to E flat mixolydian, back to B flat mixolydian, go to F mixolydian, E flat mixolydian, and then back to B flat mixolydian, and then maybe change it up a little bit on that 5 chord, or maybe go right back to the minor pentatonic. piano and then do, maybe your Lydian dominant. Although that might be a little too inside for a little ending finale. Maybe stick with the minor pentatonic or the blues. Maybe add a little, blues. So it's all really, kind of based in the blues. So that's perfect. All right. So yeah, let's see what else can we talk a little bit about. So let's talk a little bit about the Watch What Happens, and do welcome your comments and questions. Sorry if I'm talking too much. I'm feeling talkative today. So if you're, let's say, working on Watch What Happens, this is an interesting part of the tune where you get these little half steps going. So I would like to challenge folks to try some different things on there. See if you can go contrary to the motion of the chord. So let's say you play like this. What if you played an inversion of the E, and then you tried an inversion of the F, right? And then maybe we'll go back up to the E, and then I don't know if you follow that, but that can be kind of a fun thing to do melodically and harmonically, even just to study and to check out how much control you can develop over your direction versus down or up, right? Because this is going up. Can you take a chord and kind of go in the opposite direction of it? So E flat major 7, and this would be E major 7, but in third inversion, right? So this next one that I did would be F major 7, second inversion. So some little challenges there to try out and have fun with. You can start with the first inversion of E flat, and then go to the root position of the E, and then to the third inversion of the F, and then who knows, maybe go back. Just walk it down like that. So a couple things to maybe consider and to challenge yourselves on. All right, I hope all is going well on the live streams here. It looks, it looks like everything's okay. At least on YouTube. I've been kind of going back to streaming a little bit on Facebook. Looks like I'm okay. It kind of looks a little frozen in the preview, but I guess I won't worry about it now. Don't need to worry about technical things, I guess, but I'm also on Instagram here. Kind of cool. I was live streaming on x.com, but I stopped doing that. You have to pay in order to do that, and I wasn't seeing much benefit from it. But I am posting things on x.com. I also joined Blue Sky this morning, and so maybe I'll start posting on there, but they don't do any live streaming. Eric says it's all good on YouTube. Okay, cool. So I'll do a little noodling around here. I'm going to mute my my microphone. All right, well, a little noodling there on the watch what happens. Excuse me. Hang out here for another maybe about 10 minutes. Welcome you to ask any questions. Maybe I'll speak about some things in the works. I forgot to hit the old like and subscribe, which I'm sure a lot of folks have already done, but do all that. And check out the website. I have a new community membership site in the works. It's really exciting. And so I'm going to try to put together some preview materials so I can show what things are going to be like with that. But we're going to have forums, which is kind of first and foremost. It's going to be a community-driven learning, center really for folks who follow the content on the YouTube channel, well as well as Facebook or anywhere else. And yeah, so kind of community driven, and I'm going to have live streams that are exclusive to that, and the Fretprints app, and using Sound Slice, which is a really exciting technology for musicians that really integrates audio and notation as well as video and notation. So some really cool things ahead. So make sure you join the email list. I plan to have an official launch on February 1st. But this week I'm going to open it up to some kind of a soft launch. Oh, we've got Saran. Oh, that was a while ago. Welcome from Thailand. I always see your name, and I know I've chatted with you a good bit in the past. So welcome, and sorry I missed your hello there. Hit a like respond, which I guess you can do on Facebook. But yeah, back to Watch What Happens. Very cool tune, played in a Brazilian kind of style, or bossa nova, I should say, bossa nova style, written by a French composer, Michel Legrand, who I was looking at his Wikipedia page the other day. He did a lot for movies, I believe, and really accomplished a lot as a composer. It was a jazz pianist. So very cool to learn a little bit about him. I've been familiar with that tune for a long time, and it was fun to put together that video. So, and kind of aimed at getting folks acquainted with, or getting folks some arrangement that's maybe not too terribly difficult, but something you can use on a gig or just for your own private enjoyment, playing with iReal Pro or a jam session maybe. Okay, everybody. So I'm gonna maybe do a little more noodling here, and I'll probably wrap up here in about 5 minutes. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining here today. Appreciate you all taking part in the chat. It's always fun to talk with folks. Improvisers, guitar enthusiasts, those folks interested in making stuff up, making sounds on the guitar. So just playing around with tones and getting to know the kind of landscape or the soundscape of music. And on my this last week's podcast, I talked a little bit about that, and taking it from the perspective of getting to know like an area or a city or something like that. Getting more and more familiar with music and how things operate. It's to some extent, I think, always going to be a bit of a mystery, but you do kind of uncover some things, and there are lots of explainable things. So that's I think where the benefit of theory can really help us, right? My personal experience and growth, and which I'm still striving for, and I think that's the beauty of music is you just keep working at it. You just keep always trying to get a little refinement, a little better all the time, and so you just try to get to know all these routes, right, and things like that. I think which Eric alluded to a little bit earlier as well. So Eric says, "Thank you, Jim. At some point, I want to get in touch with you, maybe for a lesson." Absolutely, yeah, definitely. You can email me at jim@fretprince.com or jim@jimellisguitar.com, and that would be great. I also do a consultation, so we can set up a all free consultation to just get in touch with what your goals are and stuff like that. So Les Paul Slayer says, "I always think spiders would play jazz web structure if they could play. Thanks." Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great. Just in it, there's a lot of documentation and recording now. It's just there's a lot. So finding the recordings and help, you get help with lead sheets and all this. So a lot available to get kind of familiar with. So thanks everybody for joining. I'm gonna call it a day for today. Much appreciate your participation as always. Have a great day and great practice sessions.